103. Good evening, and welcome to Golden State Confidential. In Los Angeles, image is everything. It's a city built on beautiful facades, on perfect lives lived under a perfect sun. But as we know, behind the most perfect smile, behind the gates of the most stunning mansions, the darkest secrets can fester. Tonight's case takes us into the heart of that world. We're going to Malibu, to the home of Mark and Olivia Copeland, a golden couple who seemed to have it all. He was a charismatic real estate developer. She was a stunning socialite. But their perfect life was a lie that involved a forbidden affair, a secret pregnancy, and an act of violence so brutal, so absolute, it's hard to comprehend. This is the story of a lover burned alive to hide a secret that could destroy a family. It's a story about how the person you trust most, the person standing right beside you in your darkest hour, might just be the one holding the match. So, if you're ready to look behind the curtain, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and have those notifications turned on. This is one story you'll need to see through to the very end. Now, let's go back to a hot, dry Santa Ana night, on a deserted stretch of road in the hills above the city, where a fire was about to consume more than just a car. The call came in at 3:17 a.m. A brush fire patrol helicopter, doing a sweep over the dry canyons above Encino, reported a single, intense point of heat, a vehicle fire. By the time the first responders navigated the winding, deserted road, the Mercedes G-Wagon was a twisted, skeletal husk of blackened metal, still glowing with malevolent orange embers. The heat had been so intense it had cracked the asphalt beneath it, and inside, fused to the driver's seat, were the charred, unrecognizable remains of a human being. LAPD homicide detective Maria Sanchez stood at the edge of the yellow tape as the sun began to rise, painting the smoky sky in shades of bruised purple and pink. The air smelled of chemicals, melted rubber, and cooked meat. This was not a simple car accident. This was an execution. Accelerant, she said, her voice gravelly from the early hour and too many cigarettes. She pointed her chin at the ground around the vehicle. See the burn pattern? It's pooled. Someone doused this car inside and out. Her partner, a young, fresh-faced detective named Jean, nodded grimly. A message, or an erasure, Sanchez corrected. They didn't just want this person dead. They wanted them gone. By 9 a.m., they had an identity. The vehicle was registered to Mark Copeland, a high-flying real estate developer. A quick check of dental records from a faint, partial jawbone fragment confirmed the worst. The body in the car was his. Sanchez and Jean drove to the Copeland residence in Malibu. It wasn't a house. It was a testament to success. A sprawling palace of glass and white stone perched on a cliff, with an infinity pool that seemed to melt into the Pacific Ocean. The front door was opened by a woman who looked like she had just stepped out of a magazine. Olivia Copeland was beautiful, with blonde hair, a yoga-toned body, and the kind of expensive, understated grief that looked perfect on camera. Her eyes were red, but her mascara was, impossibly, not running. "Detectives," she said, her voice a fragile whisper. "Please, come in." The interior was just as stunning and just as cold as the exterior. Standing beside Olivia, a comforting hand on her arm, was her younger sister, Chloe Price. The two were a study in contrasts, where Olivia was bright, polished, and the center of attention even in her grief. Chloe was quiet, dark-haired, and seemed to blend into the background. She was the shadow to Olivia's sun, her expression a mask of numb, protective concern for her older sister. "We had a fight," Olivia said, sinking into a white sofa that probably cost more than Jin's car. "A stupid one, about a party he didn't want to go to. He left last night around 10 p.m. to clear his head. He does that sometimes. Just drives." Her voice broke. "I never thought." Chloe stepped in, her voice soft but firm. "Olivia, you don't have to do this right now." She turned to Sanchez. "My sister is in shock. Mark was her world." "We understand," Sanchez said, her eyes never leaving Chloe. There was something about the younger sister's stillness, her watchful calm in the eye of the storm, that pinged Sanchez's finely tuned radar. "Miss Price, you live here as well?" "Yes," Chloe said. "I moved in 6 months ago after my lease was up, to help Olivia with her charity events. And to save a little money." Her gaze flickered downward, a brief, almost imperceptible admission of her dependency on her sister's lavish lifestyle. The initial stages of the investigation painted a predictable picture. Mark Copeland, for all his success, had enemies. A business deal had gone sour. There were whispers of connections to shady financiers. The detectives chased these leads, but they all felt like dead ends. Red herrings designed to distract from a more intimate truth. Sanchez knew that 9 times out of 10, a murder this personal, this rage-filled, wasn't about business. It was about love or the lack thereof. The first real crack in the facade came from Mark's financials. A secret credit card under a corporate LLC. The statements told a story of clandestine meetings, charges for boutique hotel rooms in Santa Monica, expensive dinners for 2 at out-of-the-way restaurants. Mark Copeland was having an affair. So, the grieving widow or the scorned mistress? Jean asked as they reviewed the statements in their drab office, a world away from the Malibu cliffside. "Let's find out who the mistress is first," Sanchez said. "Run the name on the hotel reservations. See if we get a hit." But the reservations were made under a pseudonym. The credit card bills were paid online from an anonymous account. The mystery woman was a ghost. They turned their attention to Mark's phone records. His primary phone showed nothing but calls to Olivia, business associates, and his golf club. But the detailed data report showed texts to a single, unlisted number. A burner phone. "He was careful," Jean noted. "But not careful enough," Sanchez replied. "Let's get a warrant for the cell tower data on that burner. Find out where it's been." While they waited for the warrant, Sanchez decided to pay another visit to the Copeland house. Unannounced, she found Chloe in the kitchen, staring out at the ocean, a mug of tea in her hands. Olivia was nowhere to be seen. "She's sleeping," Chloe said, her voice flat. "The doctor gave her a sedative." "Must be hard," Sanchez said, employing a tone of casual sympathy. "Being the strong one." Chloe shrugged, not taking the bait. "She's my sister. I'd do anything for her." "I'm sure you would," Sanchez said. She watched as Chloe took a small sip of her tea, then subtly grimaced. A faint wave of nausea seemed to pass over her. She placed a hand on her stomach, a gesture so fleeting and unconscious that most would have missed it. But Sanchez didn't miss it. She was a mother of 2. She knew that gesture. It was the instinctive, protective gesture of a newly pregnant woman trying to quell a wave of morning sickness. An alarm bell, shrill and deafening, went off in Sanchez's mind. She left the house with a polite excuse. As she drove down the Pacific Coast Highway, her phone buzzed. It was Jean. "Maria, you're not going to believe this," he said, his voice buzzing with excitement. "We got the warrant." Traced the burner phone. It was purchased 2 months ago at a Best Buy in Pasadena, paid for in cash. But the store has security cameras. We got a clear shot of the buyer. "A woman?" Sanchez asked, her heart starting to beat faster. "Yeah. And we ran the image through facial recognition, cross-referencing DMV photos of Mark's known associates, employees, friends' wives, nothing. Until I had a thought and manually pulled the DMV photos for everyone in the house." A cold dread washed over Sanchez. She already knew what he was going to say. "It's Chloe Price," Jean said. "The burner phone belongs to the sister-in-law." Detective Maria Sanchez pulled her car over to the shoulder, the vast blue of the Pacific churning beside her. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening, horrifying finality. The affair wasn't with a stranger. It was inside the house. The quiet, supportive sister in the shadows. And the gesture, the hand on the stomach. Wife's sister, pregnant with brother-in-law. The motive wasn't just jealousy or a scorned affair. It was a secret so catastrophic, so life-destroying, that someone would do anything to keep it from seeing the light of day. They would erase it. Erase the man who could expose it. Erase him with fire. She looked back up the hill, toward the magnificent glass house. It no longer looked like a palace. It looked like a tomb, and she now knew who was haunting it. The case against Chloe Price was built not with a battering ram, but with the patient, methodical placement of surgical pins. Detective Maria Sanchez knew that to break someone as controlled as Chloe, she couldn't rely on a single, dramatic blow. She needed to construct a cage of facts so tight, so undeniable, that Chloe's only escape would be the truth. The first pin was the accelerant. Jean, tracing Chloe's financials, found it. A single, overlooked credit card purchase from 3 days before the murder. It was from a dusty, forgotten gas station on a lonely stretch of road in Calabasas, far from Chloe's usual haunts in Malibu or Beverly Hills. The purchase was for $8.99. A prepaid gas can and 2 packs of Eagle brand fire starters. A murderer's shopping list. She used her own card, Jean said, shaking his head in disbelief. After all that planning with the burner phone, she uses her own damn visa. It's always the little things. It's not just a little thing, Sanchez corrected, staring at the receipt on her screen. It's arrogance. She felt invisible. People like her, living in the shadow of people like Olivia, they think no one is ever watching them. They got the security footage. It was grainy, shot from a bad angle, but it was unmistakably her. Chloe Price, dressed in anonymous sweats and a baseball cap, her face tight with a tension that was palpable even through the low-resolution video, placing the red plastic can on the counter. The second pin was the pregnancy. Armed with the footage, Sanchez secured a second warrant to search the Copeland residence. They arrived to find Olivia in the doorway, a furious lioness protecting her cub. "This is harassment," she'd shouted. "My sister is grieving. You are victimizing my family." Chloe stood behind her, a hand resting on Olivia's arm, her face a mask of quiet, wounded dignity. She was the picture of wronged innocence. While Olivia's lawyer created a storm of legal objections in the living room, Sanchez led a small team to Chloe's ensuite bathroom. It was pristine, organized, and smelled faintly of lavender. The officer searching the trash was methodical. He pulled out tissues, cotton swabs, and then, at the very bottom, tucked inside an empty box of expensive face cream, he found it. The small, cardboard box for a clear blue digital pregnancy test. On the side, printed in cheerful blue letters, were the results. Pregnant. 1 to 2 weeks. The timeline was a perfect, sickening match to the affair. The final, most damning pin was forged in the digital ether. The LAPD's cybercrime unit had been working on Chloe's laptop. She had been smart, using advanced software to wipe her hard drive. But she wasn't smarter than they were. They recovered fragments of a deleted search history from the hours after Mark Copeland's car had been turned into a roadside crematorium. The list of searches read like a confession in itself. How to permanently delete text messages from 2 phones. How to disable Mercedes-Benz Embrace GPS tracking. Average response time LAFD Encino Canyons. Does fire destroy DNA evidence? And, most chillingly, what is the burn temperature of gasoline versus a human body? Sanchez had her cage. It was time to see if the bird would sing. She brought Chloe in. As predicted, Olivia and a high-powered lawyer flanked her. They sat in the sterile chill of interrogation room 2. Chloe was a study in absolute control. Her hands were folded neatly on the table. Her back was straight. She met Sanchez's gaze without blinking. "This is ridiculous," the lawyer began. "My client is here voluntarily to clear up these misunderstandings." Chloe leaned forward, her voice a calm, steady current of reason. "The burner phone was a gift for a friend who was dealing with a stalker. I can't give you her name. I promised her anonymity. The gas can? Olivia and I were planning a beach bonfire. It's in the garage. You can check." And the pregnancy test, she took a shaky, convincing breath. "It was a scare. A false positive. I took another one. It was negative. I was so relieved I threw it all away. I'm not pregnant, detective. She was good. She was phenomenal. She had a plausible, if slightly flimsy, explanation for everything. She was building a wall of reason brick by brick. Sanchez knew she couldn't break the wall. She had to walk around it. "Mr. Glass," Sanchez said, addressing the lawyer. "I'd like a moment with Miss Price. Alone." "Absolutely not," the lawyer scoffed. "Then I'll have your client removed and formally book her on suspicion of murder," Sanchez said flatly. "Your choice." The lawyer conferred with Chloe in a heated whisper. Chloe gave a single, confident nod. She wasn't afraid. The lawyer left, shooting a glare at Sanchez as the door closed. The room was silent. Sanchez didn't speak. She simply opened a file and slid a photograph across the table. It was the grainy still of Chloe at the Calabasas gas station. Chloe glanced at it, her expression unchanged. Sanchez slid a second photo across. The empty pregnancy test box. Chloe's jaw tightened, just for a second. "Secrets are heavy things, Chloe," Sanchez began, her voice low, conversational, almost kind. "They weigh you down. They make you tired. I can see how tired you are." "I don't know what you're talking about," Chloe said, but her voice had lost a fraction of its strength. "I think you do," Sanchez said. "I think you're tired of living in your sister's house, in your sister's shadow. Tired of being the quiet one, the helpful one, the one no one really sees." She leaned forward. "But Mark saw you, didn't he? He made you feel visible. He made you feel alive." A single tear escaped Chloe's eye, a traitor to her composure. She wiped it away angrily. "And then you told him about the baby," Sanchez continued, her voice soft with a terrible, knowing pity. "And he showed you who he really was. He didn't see you. He just saw a problem that needed to be erased." "Stop it," Chloe whispered, shaking her head. "I have one more secret to show you, Chloe," Sanchez said. "A secret you thought was erased." She took out her phone and pressed play. A tinny, distorted audio file filled the small room. It was a voicemail, recovered from the deep archives of Mark's deleted cloud data. It was Chloe's voice, high and tight with panic and rage, from the afternoon of the murder. "You can't do this to me, Mark. You can't just throw me away. After everything. This is your baby too. You think you can just write a check and make us disappear? I am not a problem you can solve." The sound of her own voice, her own raw anguish and fury, was the final blow. Chloe Price shattered. The icy composure, the carefully constructed facade, disintegrated into a million pieces. A gut-wrenching sob tore from her throat, a sound of pure, animal grief. She buried her face in her hands, her body convulsing. The dam had broken. The confession that followed was a flood, a deluge of loneliness, love, betrayal, and a rage so profound it had demanded a sacrifice of fire. The affair, she explained, had been born of invisibility. In a house where Olivia was the sun, Chloe was a ghost, haunting the edges of a perfect life she could never have. Mark, bored and feeling neglected by his socialite wife, was the first person in years who had truly seen her. Their secret trysts in Santa Monica hotels weren't just sex. They were a lifeline. She wasn't just his mistress. She was his confidant, his partner, his equal, or so she thought. When she found out she was pregnant, she was terrified but also elated. This was it, the secret that would bring their hidden life into the light. The baby would be the anchor that would make him leave Olivia and choose her. His reaction was her apocalypse. "He went cold," she sobbed. "His face, it was like a stranger's. He called the baby it. He called it a situation. He told me he would give me $50,000 to go to a clinic and take care of the problem. He told her their affair was over. He told her if she ever breathed a word of it to Olivia, he would deny everything, paint her as an obsessed, delusional liar, and have her thrown out on the street. He was going to erase me," she whispered, looking up at Sanchez, her eyes blazing with the memory of the fire. "He was going to erase our child. I loved him, and he was going to throw us away like garbage." In that moment, her love didn't just die. It underwent a horrific alchemy, transforming into a white-hot, purifying rage. He would not erase her. She would erase him. Her description of the murder was chillingly lucid. She lured him to the deserted canyon road with the promise that they could talk, that she would accept his offer. He had been relieved, arrogant. He got into the driver's seat, ready to write the check that would solve his problem. She confronted him one last time, begging him to reconsider. He had looked at her with pity and disgust and said, "Don't make this harder than it has to be, Chloe." That was when she got out of the car. She walked to the trunk. The sound of her unscrewing the cap of the gas can was the loudest sound in the world. He started yelling then, confused, then terrified, banging on the locked doors. She didn't hear him. She just poured. The gasoline cascaded over the hood, the windshield, the roof, the acrid smell filling the night air. She backed away, took out a simple BIC lighter, and flicked it once. The small flame danced in the dark. She threw it. There was a whoosh, she said, her voice a dead monotone. A sound like the whole world inhaling at once. And then just fire. It was so bright. It was beautiful. It was clean. She had stood there and watched until the screams stopped. She had watched as the fire consumed the man she loved, the man she hated, and the secret that had destroyed them both. The trial of Chloe Price was the spectacle of the year in Los Angeles. The media dubbed her the Malibu Medea. She stood in the courtroom, her pregnancy now undeniable under her prison-issue jumpsuit, and listened without emotion as she was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Olivia Copeland sat in the front row every single day. The sun-kissed, vibrant socialite was gone, replaced by a pale, gaunt woman who looked like she was carved from ice. She had lost her husband. She had lost her sister. She had learned that her entire perfect life had been a lie, built on a foundation of secrets and betrayal. The final scene took place 6 months after the verdict. A moving truck was parked in the driveway of the Malibu mansion. Olivia, dressed in simple black, was overseeing the last of the boxes being loaded. She was alone. The house, once a symbol of success and glamour, was now just a vast, empty monument to tragedy. The camera pulled back, showing her as a solitary figure against the stunning, indifferent backdrop of the Pacific Ocean. Dylan's voiceover from Golden State Confidential returned, smooth and somber. In the end, Chloe Price got what she wanted. She refused to be erased. Her rage, born from a secret love and a devastating betrayal, made her unforgettable. But in creating her own fiery legend, she consumed everyone around her, proving that in the City of Angels, the most beautiful facades can hide the ugliest truths, and the most dangerous fires are not the ones that burn down houses, but the ones that burn within the human heart.